Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Hello, Middlers. Hello. Welcome to episode 139. You know who I am. I'm Steph, the Medium in the Middle. And we are 3 years old. I don't know why I say me. I'm 3 years old as Medium in the Middle. This podcast is 3 years old. And we're going to celebrate and talk about it today. So this past week was obviously a huge moment of reflection. 139 episodes, 3 years podcasting is a long time. And a lot came up for me, a lot of memories, a lot of thinking, but it was 3 years ago that I released the first 3 episodes of Medium in the Middle, which were the first time. Episode 2 was Maria, and episode 3 was Your Dad is Here. August 13th, 2019. At 3:04 p.m., it says here, was the time. So it was really interesting because the whole podcast started because if you've been here since the beginning, you know, but I realized I could talk to the dead, and I was going through my Saturn return and a bunch of changes, and I was telling this story to literally everybody. Everybody was like, "Hey, Steph, how are you?" And I was like, "Good. I think I can talk to the dead. How are you?" And they were like, "Yeah, good, thanks." You know, I was like coaching CrossFit at the time. Everyone's like, "What's new?" I was like, "Oh, I've recently discovered I think I can talk to dead people." Yeah. Anyways, today's workout is going to be some squats, some clean and jerks, and people were just giving me these crazy looks. So needless to say, I was saying these stories, the first 10 episodes of the podcast. I was saying these stories over and over and over again because some people were like, "Cool, bye." And others were like, "What? Tell me everything." So the people that said like, "What? Tell me everything," got everything. So I want to talk about that in today's podcast episode because there's a lot of reflection and a lot of things that I want to share with you that I've learned over the last 3 years. And I'm also going to be answering some questions from Instagram. But I will start off with announcements. I love announcements. It just reminds me of school when you used to like have to sing "Oh Canada" in the morning and then they said the announcements. I have no idea if that still exists or if I'm just old, but it was always my favorite part of the day to hear what the announcements were. I have only a few announcements. So announcement number 1 is the September Reiki courses for Reiki level 1 and level 2 both have 1 spot left in them. So if you are interested in learning Reiki level 1, or if you are interested in continuing your Reiki journey for Reiki level 2, 1 spot left in both of those courses. I will leave the link down below in the show notes. And in September, I will be starting another round of mentees in the middle. I think this is my 5th round, which where does time go? I know time doesn't exist, but where does it go? You know? So another round of mentees is opening. Right now it's being opened to the wait list and past mentees. And if there are any spots left, I will be opening it up to the public on Friday. So the best way to keep up with those things is on my Instagram at Medium in the Middle. My only account, and I will post it there, and I will also leave the links down below to my website where you can keep an eye depending on when you're listening to this. And while we're on my only account, I will never DM you for a reading. I don't even do mediumship readings right now, but there's been a lot of scam accounts, and I'm sorry that's happening. It's frustrating for everybody, but I will never DM you for business. I paid a lot of money for my website, and it has buttons that say book now that work beautifully. So don't ever send money in the DMs. Go to someone's website. Scammers are live and active. Those are this week's announcements. So just because we're walking down memory lane this week, I wanted to do a 3-card pull, and I wanted to use my original deck, the Colette Baron Reid Enchanted Map deck. I received this deck as a gift when I did my Reiki Masters course, which is very exciting because I'm teaching Reiki Masters course next week for the first time. And I'm very, very excited for my first student. She is so ready, and I'm so excited to share this gift and share how to do the attunements so that she can teach Reiki, because we are meant to be teaching as many people as possible. So I received this as a gift from the person I practiced on. They were like, wow, that was really good. I used to know Colette Baron Reid. Here's a copy of her deck. And I was like, oh, thank you. If you do follow me on Instagram, I was just in Vancouver and I got a new tarot deck. And I don't know if it said tarot or tarot, because I've been hearing tarot a lot by like people who teach tarot. So let me know how it's said, because I'll just use them both. But I got a new tarot deck and I'm really excited to like put my energy into it and use it. I've only done one reading with it for a friend, and the cards were really good, but they just came out backwards. So instead of like the first, second, third card pull, I was like, this doesn't make sense. And then intuitively I was like, oh, backwards, this makes sense. Like, 3, 2, 1. So I want to like use my energy on the cards more and infuse my energy into those cards more before I start to really use them. Some of my older Oracle card decks, I know them, I'm comfortable with them, they have my energy in them, I like using them. And those are the ones I use in my sessions. So if you book a distance Reiki session or in-person Reiki with a card pull, we're going to be pulling cards from one of my OG decks. I won't throw in the new deck probably for a while. Anyways, that was a little ramble to say we're pulling 3 cards today. And I pulled Golden Palace, Field of Dreams, and Come Together. What a beautiful 3-card pull. As always, we're starting in order. Card 23, Golden Palace. There is always enough. The Golden Palace card represents good fortune, ambitions fulfilled, wealth, and prosperity. It may also indicate emotional fulfillment, as perhaps you're entering a time of happiness that's long overdue. The message here is that self-worth isn't measured by what you have, no matter how abundant your life is. Instead, it comes from what you are, how authentically you're living your life, and how much love you're willing to share. Granted, receiving this card does not indicate material gain and a furthering of tangible rewards, but things come and go, and knowing your true value leads to even greater riches now. Share the wealth. Okay, Golden Palace. Coming into our second card, Field of Dreams. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are always engaging the vast field of pure potential. This is the perfect time to harness the field of vast potential, not yet realized in your life. Great abundance is yours if you're willing to do the work alongside the gentle gardener. Be clear about your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Concentrate on your best life regardless of the temporary outer conditions imposed upon you based on the greater world, which has its own story to tell. You have a basket full of seeds that are quite powerful, for your talents are divinely inspired and will indeed lead to a great harvest to be shared with others. You will reap what you have sown. Dream big, dream beautiful, take action, and tend to the garden of your life. And experience the extraordinary. Very motivating cards this week. We're finishing with number 8. Come together. Love needs to be shared. Love needs to be expressed. Drawing the Come Together card is a sign that you're on the path to discover the nature of this emotion in all its forms of expression: romantic, familiar, unconditional, spiritual. In each instance, there is another being involved. Love involves a give and take between you and a significant other, a relative, a friend, an animal, or a spirit. This card assures you that love has come calling and seeks a partner in its dance. Know that you are cherished. Like a magnet, you attract love into your life. This is time for harmonious, caring partnerships. This reminds me of what the psychic told me. Something's coming. Nothing has happened yet. I will obviously keep you guys updated. it is super interesting that like once someone tells you something, it's definitely in my mind. I'm like, ooh, is that person short and nice? Anyways, those are the 3 cards for this week. I hope they resonate with you. Golden Palace, Field of Dreams, and Come Together. Very positive, very uplifting. Again, I pull these cards with the audience in mind, and I am asking, what do you need to know now? What do you need to know now? What is helpful for you whenever you listen to this episode? So even if you're not listening to it in August 2022, that is okay. But whenever you fall upon this, hopefully those cards resonate with you. And if they don't, just leave it. I always say sometimes I love card pulls. Sometimes I'm like, nope, no, thank you. Take what you need, leave what you don't. So I do want to go down memory lane for a moment and just talk about starting a podcast 3 years ago and becoming a podcaster. When I list my jobs, I never list podcaster, which is funny because it's what I do the most often. And as someone who isn't like a big commitment person, like for example, I go to the gym every single day, and for the longest time I like refused to buy like a 1-year gym membership. I was like, no, what if things change? But 3 years is a long time to be doing something every single week. And this podcast is free. Obviously, you're listening to it. It is ad-free, which means I don't get paid for doing this, but it does funnel directly into my business. So I am 3 years into podcasting, but 2 years into my business, and the podcast directly funnels my audience into my business. So I always think about it as free advertising for myself, but it's a passion. Sometimes it's been a headache. Sometimes it feels like work. Sometimes I'm so excited to tell all you strangers who are listening to me in your ears these stories, because there's connection and there's community, and it's grown to be something way more than I ever expected. I know I say this often, but my first listens, it was 42 or 48 people listened. And I was like, wow, like I thought, if 1 or 2 or 3 people listened, I was going to be blown away, but 40 people listened. And now thousands of people listen. It still is kind of mind-blowing. I know I now have 139 episodes out, and I always tell new listeners, if you don't want to listen to all 139, listen to the first 10. Because the first 10 were the crazy stories. The first 10 were my like spiritual awakening, I guess, in hindsight, of when I started realizing I could communicate with spirit, and then I started to piece together the pieces. So I find those first 10 episodes are very helpful. It's 222. I find those first 10 episodes are very helpful to people who are also developing, because they can see part of their journey in my discovery, and I find that the things that I discover are very similar to what you're discovering on your end. So it's just nice to see that you're not alone, and there's other people in this world going through the same experiences, because, in 2019, I definitely thought I was the only one, and it was hard to find my tribe. Now I have a tribe. Now I find people like myself online. Now I can, relate, and I have had so many messages and DMs and emails with you, my audience, that, you resonate with this, or the same thing happened to you, and that makes me feel so not alone and so not weird. Those first 10 episodes were like really powerful, and people are always like, how did you figure it out so quickly? And I was like, although it sounds maybe quick on the podcast, it was about 1.5 years before, from like first experience, episode 1, the first time. That was like first 3 ones. Maria was, just to remind you, Maria was the baby, the stillborn baby that came through with Joe's, again, these are all not real names, with Joe's aunt or cousin. Would have been, his aunt's kid, which would have made the cousin. Anyways, which was freaky. And then your dad is here was when I went to the washroom, and I was scared by the Glade thing in the washroom. And then my friend's, what's her podcast name? Tara. When Tara's grandpa came through for her mom, that was crazy. And then the man in the washroom. Like, they were just crazy stories that came up right away. So although like I organize them into episodes, just know that it took a long time to figure out, and hindsight is much more clear. So from the time that I actually released these podcasts, from when they were actually happening, the stories, it was almost a year later. So I released these podcasts in August 2019, and all these stories started happening to me in the September or August 2018. No, before that, because it was when I took my Reiki training. So like April 2018. So they were in my mouth for a long time. So I also want to say, if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, if you have a story to tell, start before you're ready. I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast. I didn't release till August, but I started recording and buying equipment in March, April of 2019. And it just took me till August. So April, May, June, July, August. It took me 5 months to finally release. You know, you're buying equipment and you're recording and the dreaded intro and then figuring out how to get on Apple Music and all the technicalities. So just start before you're ready. You will learn, you will get better. Obviously, if you go back and listen to episode 1, to the audio and the editing now, there's a big difference, but we all grow. So just start. Like, that's the one thing I've learned in business, is just start, and start before you're ready. Because if you're waiting for yourself to be ready, you're going to be waiting forever and five ever. So if you've been here since the beginning, since August 2019, or if you're a new listener, or if you are someone who binged all the episode, you know, that is so much of my voice. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for connecting with me. Thank you for every email, message, DM, comment, like, everything, follow, appointment booked, Reiki training done. It has changed my life in ways that I never, ever, ever thought. And it's really opened up a lot for me to be my authentic self and share that story. And I'm so happy that it's helped other people, and that it's helped other people be seen in an area that I feel is very hard to be seen, because we feel like we're under a rock sometimes. I was listening to another spiritual podcast where she said a line of, I wasn't out of the closet yet, and, a spiritual closet. And I was like, there's this aspect of, you're stepping into this version of you, or who you are, and it does feel like coming out as a new version of you. So it's really interesting to know how other people do it, how other people have experienced it. I know I like listening to other people's journeys. So I hope that as these stories have unfolded over the years and helped you, it's helped you feel not so alone, not so isolated, not so weird, quote unquote, because we're not weird. We're just special. We have fairy dust in our pockets. I love saying that. I'm always like, I have fairy dust in my pockets. And I do want to share a few things about podcasting that I've learned over the years. So because I've been doing this for 3 years and 139 episodes, I have come to hate talking about it. I shouldn't say hate. I don't want to say hate. I want to say I talk about my journey, my lessons, my spirituality so much on the podcast. Once a week I come out with a 20 to 40 minute podcast episode, and then I share about it on Instagram all week and all of that. In my real everyday life, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to repeat stories. The amount of times I wanted to tell my best friends, just listen to the podcast episode, save me the story, because I've become a storyteller though. So I've really enjoyed, people are constantly telling me, I love the way you tell stories. And I've learned through podcasting how to keep people engaged. If I want you to listen to a 20-minute episode, I need you to, kind of pay attention the whole time. So it's been a very interesting duality of I love storytelling and I will turn anything into a story. But also when it comes to spirituality, I don't want to talk about it outside of the podcast and outside of my work, because it's always in my mouth is this reference. It's always on my tongue. So when I'm going to hang out with a friend, I'm like, can we talk about the weather, your job, something else other than what I talk about all day? And not to say that I don't love it, but it's definitely like changed from the start where this was all I was talking about. It like fully consumed me. Now, like, there's people I go to the gym with every day that probably have no idea like what I do or what that looks like or anything like that. So it's really interesting, the duality of it. Anyways, I asked on Instagram some questions of what are you interested in knowing? So I'm going to answer some of those questions. So I'll start off with the question of what's the difference between then and now? And I'm assuming they're talking about podcasting. So the first thing that comes to mind is that when I first started podcasting, like I said, it was about a year before I started podcasting of when all these stories started happening. So the first year-ish of the podcast was catching up because I had so many stories to tell. It was like bam, 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 bam. Let me tell you about this and this and this. And then in the second year, we were kind of caught up into real time where it was like, okay, let me tell you about what I'm going through now. And year 3 is very interesting because now I feel like I've told a lot of crazy stories. I've talked about mediumship. I've taught a lot of different things. I've told you, a lot of different experiences I've been through. And now it's kind of like, well, what's next? Like, what else do I talk about? Because I don't know if things become more normal to me where I'm like, that's not a cool spirit story for the podcast or, like that's kind of normal, intuitive things. So I do try to like consciously remember when something is actually a cool story for the podcast and when it's not. But in the beginning, it was a lot of like, I have a lot to tell and catch up. Now I'm constantly like racking my brain being like, please something cool happen that I can share on the podcast because I want to share the cool spirit stories that I know that you love. I want to share, cool, funny, intuitive stories. But I also want to be authentic. So I remember my cousin once asked me, like, do you ever just like make things up if you don't have any cool stories to share? And I like looked at him and I was like, no, I would never make anything up. And I can honestly say that I've never made a story up. I've never said anything false just for, a story. And it was funny that he said that, and I can, confidently say, no, I don't make things up. I do find that now on my podcast, I want to kind of move away from like, my story's so cool, let me tell you all about it, to more like, how can I help you go through your experiences? How can I use my experiences to help teach others? How can I save someone else time from, taking the 1.5 years to figure it out? So I do try to now be more like teaching. Let me help other people directly without being like the cool, shiny new toy. So that's what I would say is be like the biggest difference. So podcasting hasn't gotten harder, but I feel like the idea formation has definitely changed. So this is another good question. What profession do I think I would have gone into had my abilities not come into play? That is a good question. So when this all started, I was working at Lululemon, love Lululemon, and I was teaching CrossFit. And then I wanted to shake up my life, so I quit all my jobs and I went to Costa Rica. And when I came back, it was when the universe wouldn't give me a job, but then I worked for another small company named Sage, and they sell essential oils. They're like a Canadian company. And I liked that. And then after that, I worked in a restaurant management, and I did like it. But now being an energy worker, when I like go to a restaurant or I see my friends who are still serving, I always think like, how in the world are you still doing this? Like the amount of interactions, the amount of like fakeness, the amount of like energy output. I don't think I could do that anymore. But when I was doing it, I really enjoyed it. It was very much like a lifestyle. You work with your friends, you go out after for drinks. It's a late start. You get your whole day, good money. So I did really, really enjoy it at the time. But now I'm always thinking like, I could never do that again because of the energy output. So I always said when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher. And through this experience, I've really enjoyed teaching. So I think I would still be some type of entrepreneur, probably teaching, doing online courses, doing something. I also was going to be a yoga teacher, but that stopped because I got too busy. So I think I would have still found my way to Reiki without mediumship. So Reiki would still be a big part of my life, but yeah, I always think like what would I, if this all stops tomorrow, what would I go do? And my first thought is go back to Lululemon because I love that company so much. But I don't know. I can't go back to restaurants. I know that for sure. I could not deal with it anymore. I feel like also when you're younger, you have way more patience and you can laugh things off. Now, my favorite thing is that when I go into the restaurant to MC the show every week, I can just say whatever I want and be sassy. I'm like, I don't work here. So that is a good question. And I would say I would probably still be very entrepreneurial. I would probably still be teaching something. I love business. I love numbers. And if like I could redo life, I would take business in university. I took psychology and sociology, which I don't want to say is useless to me, but if I took business, I feel like that would be really, really helpful. I love numbers. I love taxes. Like I love all the organization. I love monthly breakdowns. I love ROI. I love figuring out how much money I feel like I would do something with money. Actually, now that I'm saying all of this, maybe like banking, maybe investments. I don't know. I love money. I love structure, but I also, yeah, that's a good question. I'll leave my answer at that. Question mark of what I would actually do, but maybe something with money or business. And then somebody asks, what are my future goals or plans for your services and business? Great question. So, like I said, I'm very money driven. So I set money goals and I've reached those goals and exceeded them. And I haven't really set new ones because I've realized that money is just a number that you set out to make. And then once you make it, it's like, cool. Now what? So I do want to grow my in-person business a little bit more. I would like it to be 2 days a week and then online the other days of the week. Right now I'm in person 1 day a week, and put more focus on my in-person business and kind of community and getting back to in-person things. I really like doing retreats. As you guys know, I've been part of the Banff Wellness Retreats a lot. I love that. I love having access to that many people at a time. More teaching I can see in my future. I'm going to continue teaching Reiki, but the mentorship, Reiki, the meeting in the middles, I love all of that. And kind of like the psychic said, less one-on-one, more group work. To me, that means more teaching. And that's kind of where I want to move my attention to. My biggest goal is obviously to get this podcast sponsored. I would love a stream of income from this. Yeah, I think what I've learned over the years is to follow my intuition when it comes to business, which sometimes seems counterintuitive of like what my business mind thinks and what my intuition is saying. And I think I blindly follow that sometimes, and I've learned to really trust it because I know it's always shown me the way. So something I plan to do is like continue to follow that, and they're usually like random hits that I'm like, I need to do this now, or I need to change this, and then it works out. So yeah, those are kind of the goals, but I really enjoy my life. I enjoy the setup that I have. I enjoy the way things have been going. So I'm very, very happy, and it's hard to know what's next when you kind of have everything you dreamed of. So I'm excited to do another goals workshop this year to dream bigger, because you have to have those big dreams to kind of know where you're going. And I definitely need a new target. That's for sure. Anyways, thank you for your questions. I always love Q&As. I think my favorite podcast episodes are the Q&A episodes because I'm always interested to hear what you guys are interested in learning about, hearing about your questions. So thank you for always submitting them on Instagram. If you don't already follow me at Medium in the Middle, it's a really good way to stay connected. I post a lot of stuff on there. Try to give as much free content as I possibly can. And I just want to say thank you to you, the listener. Thank you for being here. You have no idea how much your one listen affects me and my life and my business and my growth. And I'm happy to be your virtual friend, even though I may or may not know you. I'm happy to be in your ears every week. I love that a lot of you look forward to these drops. And I just want to say thank you. I see you and I feel you energetically. It's a really, really, really nice spot to be in. So thank you for being here. If you've listening from the past 3 years, or if you're a new listener, it's all the same. We're all middlers here. It is crazy to think it has been 3 years. Actually, going back to that last question, one of my biggest goals, and again, the psychic talked about it, I would love to be on TV. I think I'm hilarious, and if you watch my stories, you might also think I'm hilarious, but I would love to be on TV. So that's one of my goals. I don't know if it's like a reality show, if it's like something funny, but I do see myself on video in some capacity. And I always used to say I wanted to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And now that that show's done, I don't know what I want to be on, but some type of TV. Anyways, this episode has gone on long enough. I just wanted to say thank you. Celebrate 3 years. Look back. Reflect. Always celebrate yourself. Celebrate your wins. We move so fast through life and we don't celebrate ourselves enough. So don't forget it. That's my favorite thing that I've learned over the years is to celebrate yourself. Shamelessly. Go out for dinners. Buy yourself champagne. Buy yourself something new. You know, I got myself a new deck and a bunch of stuff in Vancouver. And I was like, happy birthday, medium in the middle, you know. Also, it's a business expense. So anyways, celebrate yourself. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. And for 3 years, I have been in your ears every Tuesday/Wednesday now. But if you want to book an appointment with me, I will leave all the links down below in the show notes. You guys know the drill. If you haven't already, please, please leave a rating and a review. It's been 3 years. I just need a review. It costs you nothing to do it, but probably 45 seconds of your time. And I really, really appreciate it. But until next week, middlers, I will see you in your ears. Have a great week. Bye.